This is the corner of Bancroft and Cherry in Toledo. It's the neighborhood the woman you're about to hear from grew up in. And this is where she also found her passion for helping victims of human trafficking.
Somebody's got to be doing something.
Dr. Celia Williamson is the director of the Human Trafficking and Social Justice Institute at the University of Toledo. But her journey to becoming a distinguished university professor—
That was to impress you. But I actually came from just north end of Toledo, Bancroft and Cherry Street and LaGrange Street. That's where I grew up.
Started when she was a student herself. As a social worker, she was provided the opportunity to work with young women in the city, even though her goal was to work with kids and families. That work exposed her to some of the brutal experiences of female trafficking victims.
I learned the culture of the streets, street prostitution, the pimps, the drug houses, how women kept themselves safe. And after I was out there for 6 months, and then after that, I developed the first direct service program in Ohio.
Williamson says there are three main types of trafficking: sex, labor, and organ, with organ being a less popular form of trafficking. Before we dive deeper into the issue of human trafficking, how do you even define it?
We have an actual legal definition. In 2000, the U.S. government passed the Trafficking Victims Protection Act, and that was our first acknowledgement that human trafficking victims are indeed on U.S. soil as well as around the world.
And the act covered two forms of human trafficking, which happen to also be the most common: sex trafficking and labor trafficking. And there are those different types of trafficking. Of course, you mentioned labor trafficking, there's sex trafficking. What can be some of the differences in how they operate, if there's any at all?
Right now, we are seeing a lot of young people under the age of 18 that are manipulated into sex trafficking by women, men, other teens.
Williamson says it's common for other teens and women, people we don't normally view as perpetrators of these crimes, to be used to lure young people into trafficking. That's because education over time has enforced a stranger danger approach to the classic creepy male figure. While those are still perpetrators, rings have evolved to meet their cheap labor, commercial sex, and profit needs. She says while most of us imagine this aggressive, people in white vans grabbing and snatching people off the street scenario, it's not at all as common as you may think.
The most common way is really through manipulation. It's really befriending another young person, and not in a scary way.
And to top it all off, you've maybe heard claims, whether from a friend or acquaintance, that Toledo's some sort of hub for human trafficking. But despite our easy access to most parts of the country, that's another misconception.
We got out in front of the issue earlier than other cities, and so it looked like Toledo is like, oh my gosh, what's going on with Toledo? I'm scared to come to Toledo. It's like, well, no, it's just that we're looking for it. If you look for it, you'll find it in Lima and Cincinnati and Cleveland and Chicago and all the other cities too. And now they are looking for it and they are finding it.
And as is the case with any big problem, there are people working day and night to find the solution, including those in attendance of the annual trafficking conference at the University of Toledo, or meetings of the Lucas County Human Trafficking Coalition every month. Then you have those working to get those perpetrators of these crimes off the street, which includes Toledo's FBI field office. But Williamson reminds us, for many victims of trafficking, their trauma isn't something that stays in their past. Rather, it's something that follows them through everyday life. Reporting in Toledo, I'm Jaden Jefferson.